Hey there everyone, this is Michael for Spirit Comics. Welcome to my review of Wonder Woman number 35. Now, I had a bad feeling at the end of number 34 that number 35, this issue, was going to be another sort of intermission issue. Because, and I have it right behind me, issue 34 said, here at the back, next, the story of Jason. Okay, so that gave me the hint that 35 is going to tell us the origin, maybe, or something about Jason. And look right here on the cover. The secret origin of Wonder Woman's brother. Which this particular issue fails to deliver. However, starting it off, I do like the cover, even though it's rather confusing. There's Wonder Woman, of course, and that almost reminds me of the first Wonder Woman. I'm talking the one from like 1938, that type of Wonder Woman, only this one's more built, more busty, a little bit more. And that reminds me of Wonder Girl, who I think originally was supposed to be Wonder Woman at a very young age, but later on it was, that was rewritten to be Donna Troy, and there's young Jason. Then up here they have the old Jason and current Wonder Woman, and the artists did a magnificent job on the cover depicting these two. And again, we see that they are standing away from each other. They're not even looking at each other hardly. So this tells me that possibly issue 36 is going to be a continuation of the fight scene from issue 34. The coloring of the cover, very nice. This is the orangish, the orangish yellowish hue used to make this here stand out, because we see in the background the Amazons, and there's young Jason being taken care of by Glacius, or how you pronounce his name. It's just it's a wonderful cover that has a lot going on, and probably more to it than I can even realize at this point. Oh, something else I wanted to point out. It says Times Past here instead of Children of the Gods, like on 34. This is because issue 35 here is an origin story. And if you know about this phrase called Times Past, it means history. It means everything in the past. Plus, if you just put past on there, in my opinion, that would just look, cheap and confusing. So, here we open up to this scene. Years ago, many years ago, the Greek islands. Times past, Jason. And that's Glacius, the man who was to raise him as his own. Written by James Robinson. And of course, Jason is growing up rather fast. And he says, "Where are you, son?" "Here I am, father. Over here, look." And of course, he's holding up this huge boat. And his dad's like, "Jason, what have you?" "Father, you'll never believe it. I dreamed I could fly, and that I was strong too." And of course, he was flying in here. "It felt so real, so right. I had to see if I could. And look, I can!" Of course, I guess at this point he was not told about what he could and couldn't do. And Glacius says, "Yes, well, knowing you can don't mean you should," which is actually good advice. Knowing that you can do something doesn't mean that you should. He says, "You're special. I know that. I've always known. The world can't know, though. Do you understand? For now, at least. The age you are, this has to remain a secret. Now put down the boat. Is that Tommy's? Him from town?" And of course he puts down the boat. He says, "Yes, father." And he jumps in. And he says, "I meant place it down, not, well, I have to pay for that, Jason. I'm sorry. I was excited, and I understand I'd be excited too. We'll deal with it later. Just come inside." "Think it's time I told you, Jason." "Told me what, father?" "That's the thing. I ain't your father." He sounds like a hillbilly. But the artwork is really nice. Seeing the water drip off that boat before he destroys it. And then he starts, and then we see Glacius sort of narrating here in the past. "I told him everything. That I was Glacius, crewman on the Argo, serving with my captain and leader, the original Jason of lore and legend. How I'd eaten enchanted herbs that gave me life eternal. Told him not just that I weren't his father, but who his real daddy was. A god, the god of Greek legend, Zeus himself. How he'd loved and lain with an Amazon queen. And that Jason he had a sister. That queen, Hippolyta by name, had feared the jealousy of Zeus's wife, Hera. The boy's sister was easy to hide on Themyscira. A girl among many. Jason, on the other hand, it looks like he's enraptured by this story. He'd be harder to explain, him a boy and them Amazons. Although I think it would have been interesting. I told him how his mother had sent word to me when she first knew there were life in her belly. I think she sensed the full truth even then. Twins, one a boy, she knew. Oh, me by reputation alone, I in the years of past hadn't crossed. And, this is, I think, this is doing what is called retconning, taking a piece of information and using it over again. Or I don't know, maybe I explained that wrong. But Wonder Woman, her original origin was that she was made of clay. She wasn't born. So I don't know where the heck this is coming from. I think this will turn out to be another lie. Maybe this is the origin she was given in the New 52. I'm not sure. And even so, she told me, she trusted me, that she could tell I was the one to raise her son. And of course, that's Felipe's. She liked the fact that I lived and knew the past that I was immortal, and yet as important that I weren't a god. What was I to do? Say no? Before long, though, I loved him like he were my own blood. Oh, Jason, will you get down here and give me a hand? Like, yeah, I've got powers. I'm acting like an idiot. Children take such shock to so much better than adults have. You notice that? I told him who he was, that whatever powers he had came most likely from the union of his mother and father. He wanted to know why his father and mother had never visited him. Suppose anyone wondered. But when I told him I didn't have the answer, he shrugged his shoulders and said, I've never needed a mother, and I have a father in front of me, the best a boy could ask for, so let's get on with our lives. There's no rule book to raising a kid and no manual. They're all so different, you see. These little people, all each their own. Even without a child like Jason, him having powers. Jason was strong, could fly, and I noticed he had an accord with the elements, the air. Nothing too dramatic, just that he had a sense of it. And by sensing the air, he could feel the tides and the sea flow, which meant where the fish could be found. And it shows him as he's, getting older. He's looking in the water, wondering. I made Jason promise he'd hide his powers, at least until he'd fully understood them. In order to, in order to give you an idea, I think, of how Glacius spoke, I literally have to read it like this, even though it's kind of annoying. But eventually, he stops narrating. But I also knew he'd keep training with some of it. More than I was capable of showing him, and of course this is Hercules. Son, this is an old friend. Say hello to Hercules. This will take some doing, Glacius. The boy is all bones and no meat. Doing? Doing what? What do you mean? Why are you here? Don't be rude, boy. He's here 'cause I asked him, and 'cause you need teaching. What do I need to learn? Well, first, no matter how strong you are, there's always someone stronger. Secondly, I like the way he picks the little runt up like that. It wouldn't hurt learning how to stop them doing this to you. Then he throws the kid, really far. He lands on his face and says, okay, teach me. And you can kind of sense the fire in him start to grow. Jason's training began that day. Started and stopped a few times, I should say. Hercules, despite his best intentions, weren't one to stay too long anywhere. He'd come and then leave, and come and go, but always return with something new for Jason to learn. So it shows the aging of the boy and how Hercules fit into the picture. He was a trainer, a mentor of sorts. And now he's much older, and Hercules has gotten older. Thanks for this. For what? Handing you another ass kicking, looks like. This. Come on. Watch my eyes and my sword, my wrist and my fingers. Why? Chances are I'll never fight a swordsman. He says, and chances are you saying that means you most certainly will. How are you going to use that spear, or are you putting up a clothes post? Then he uses it and knocks Hercules' sword out of his hand and thrusts the spear at his chest, but of course doesn't stab him, because that's just training. Then he starts in on him, about his powers, and says, "You're good with a spear. That's a blessing. Powers have a habit of taking their leave just when you need them tight. Skill with a weapon never hurt anyone except your opponent." Sure, I get it. And what I was saying about thanks, here we go. I just meant that Father coming here at his request, I know it meant a lot to him. I'm pretty sure his time on the Argo is still the happiest he's ever been, proudest too. He served well and bravely, I'll say that, but it wasn't just for him I came. Now this is where Hercules gets all really, mysterious. But he then reveals something to Jason. I'm not a man for crowds, and people haven't been for a good while. I seek solitude. I seek no one. Why? So I don't have to think about some of the things I've done. But that's my point. You came anyway. Glacius called and you're here. And I just told you I didn't just come for him, you dolt. Don't you know who my father is? Same as yours. You means... Don't say it. Even a whisper might reach his ears. Or worse, still his wife. I came for you, Jason. I came for my brother. And so it shows how he gets older, and as he grows, he starts fighting. And this is just so freaking strange. This is in Greece. Okay? This is modern times. I don't know what Robinson was thinking, the guy who wrote this. Minotaurs existing in Greece in modern times. He says, no, oh no, Athens reeling from the damage today. This is terrible. The Olympian is down, he's out, and the Minotaurus has... Minotaurus? Minotaurus? What is that? A female Minotaur or something? I mean, this is one of the really strange moments in the book, in this issue. And they're watching all of this on television. They're watching this battle on television. So this is in modern times, and nobody can tell me it's not. Nobody can convince me otherwise, because they're sitting in a bar, and they're watching this on a television. Well, maybe it's not a bar, maybe it's, But that's his Father, Glacius. And he recognizes the guy fighting. So later when he gets home, he says that Hercules had left. And Jason wonders, will he be back? He said he's been too long without himself, whatever that means, so who can say? And there's another farewell in your future, son. Sorry to tell you, I'm leaving. What? No! And somewhere he tells Jason that he recognized him on the broadcast. He says, it's my way. Like the birds, swallows, and wrens, I'm driven to roam. Yeah, bull crap. Every couple of centuries, not often, but comes the day, it comes, I go. And he says, what? And he says, no, he says, anyway, you're a man now, as good as. I'll go with you, he says, because, no matter how big a man gets, his parents are still his parents. And if you don't have them around, then you're incomplete. He says, I'll go with you and risk losing the mouse. Losing the house. Mouse. And risk losing the house. You most certainly won't. This is your home. Mine too. A place to return when I do. And then he says, no more heroics, though. You hear? And he's like, oh my gosh, he found out. And he says, the Olympian would have recovered and won. He's done as much before. You recognized me? Come on, boy. You think a ski mask is going to fool me? He says, he's asking when he's going to be back, and he says he really doesn't know, but that he will be. But he had planned on returning. And he says, "Live, Jason, son. Keep to the shadows, like I've always taught you, but live all the same. Don't go, Father, please." I guess I'll begin the narrative now, yes. So someone else begins the narrative. It's up to me, not that there's much to say. Glacius lied. He never came back, and I tried not to hate him. Instead, I fished. And of course, this is Jason. Then he goes on about seeing Wonder Woman, his sister. And of course he says, I lived as Glacius said I should. And, he got chummy with the girls and probably got laid a few times. Did I ever feel alone? I tried my best not to. It was only when I saw her I began to feel the isolation of my existence. I knew she was my sister, my twin. I knew that's a bunch of bull crap. Wonder Woman, they called her. And yes, even to my critical gaze, she was wonderful. And then shows her, again fighting. And I'm having to do this on one leg because, my leg was starting to get cramped up, kinda. The question I asked myself, of course, was what should I do? Seek her out? And, he's become a man, and go against the wishes of Glacius, my father. And it says, I knew, but one thing, that I knew nothing. That's the smartest thing he's ever said. And there he is drinking. And says, although my sister certainly passed, but what of me? Because he said that that there are a few people who trusted. Apparently he trusted her for some odd reason. It was a question I asked myself many times as I pondered when and where my twin and I might meet. But he didn't show any, here he doesn't show any resentment for his sister, like he did in the previous issue. It was a brisk afternoon at sea, late in the summer, when I found the answer. And there he is with his mate, Stavey. Jason, I can feel it in the water. Something. Something? What does that mean? Fish? No, bigger. Get below. All of you. Jason, you heard me. Get below. Show yourself. So he's acting all heroic. And then all these creatures appear. The boy has lungs at least. Yes, and they'll be gasping for air when we've dragged him under. Come, little Titan. Yes, come face us, the Deep Six. So I guess some weirdos got to him before Darkseid did, apparently. Fear? No fear. Excitement? Some. Don't know why you're here or who you think I am to you. Don't much care. This is what it feels to live, Glacius, to truly be alive. Then he picks up his spear and says, 660 doesn't matter. Want to fight? Who's first? And next, by my brother betrayed. So, I'm guessing next issue, it's going to be back to the present situation of the fight which they started between Jason and Wonder Woman in issue 34. So this secret origin of Wonder Woman's brother was nothing in here. There was nothing in here about the secret origin. It had already been revealed in issue 34 that he's the son of Zeus. And that Zeus laid with Queen Hippolyta. That's his origin. Oh, brother. This story is slow. There's not much action to it. I am really disappointed in the run of James Robinson on Wonder Woman. I so wish they would bring back Shea Fontana, who was there for 5 issues. She did a wonderful job. I'm sorry, but I just didn't care too much for this issue, except the, drawings of Wonder Woman inside the book. This whole deal with her brother, Jason, is not interesting at all. Spending, so many issues on this one topic. It's not really getting to fight anybody or anything. I don't know what the current sales number are for Wonder Woman, but I swear, I hope they get this guy off Wonder Woman fast and get somebody better in to write her story. Well, that's what I thought of issue 35. What did you think? I'm Michael for Spirit Comics. Please do leave your comments below. Also subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell like She-Hulk so you'll be notified of all new uploads. And like and share the review if you enjoyed it. Till next time, true readers.